People have to live in unity.
We are still in transition.
Civil society has been decimated.
Of course, we rely on media.
And I think the government has not done enough.
The international community has failed to respond.
No place in the world is perfect.
Hello viewers, I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India's External Affairs Minister S. Shankar recently concluded his high-profile visit to UK, where he discussed the potential of the bilateral strategic partnership with the UK's newly appointed Foreign Secretary David Cameron. S. Shankar and his counterpart discussed progressing a free trade agreement and partnerships on defence, science and technology. A report. India's External Affairs Minister S. Shankar concluded his 5-day trip to the United Kingdom on November 15. In his high-profile visit, Shankar interacted with British PM Rishi Sunak, opposition leader Keir Starmer and his newly appointed counterpart David Cameron. Shankar and Cameron held a detailed discussion on realizing the full potential of the bilateral strategic partnership.
I again, really valued the fact that the new Foreign Secretary, who we were reminded we met exactly 8 years ago, on the first day of his job, even before he addressed his own ministry personnel, was good enough again to meet me and my colleagues, and it was, I think, extremely satisfying to again hear from him the commitment and support for the relationship, and we spent a lot of time talking about how to take it forward.
Addressing a special Diwali reception organized by the High Commission of India at Westminster Hall in London, Shankar described the bilateral relationship as a positive force for the world. S. Shankar and David Cameron discussed progressing a free trade agreement and partnerships on defence, science and technology. India and the UK have been negotiating a free trade agreement since January 2022 with a target to enhance the estimated £36 billion bilateral trading partnership. The talks have undergone 13 rounds of negotiations, with officials hopeful of clinching a final deal soon. During the G20 meet in New Delhi, UK PM Rishi Sunak had also reiterated his commitment to closer India-UK ties across different sectors, including a free trade agreement.
Both Modi ji and I are keen to see a comprehensive and ambitious trade deal concluded between our two countries. Both of us think that there is a good deal to be done, but trade deals always take time. They need to work for both countries, and although we've made enormous progress, there is still hard work to go.
During his visit to UK, S. Shankar attended an event hosted by the Indian High Commission, which was themed "How a Billion People See the World." The conversation covered a wide range of subjects, from the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine to relations with Canada, Bangladesh and Taiwan. During the discussion, Shankar asserted that New Delhi is playing a vital role in stabilizing global oil and gas markets through strategic purchase policies amid the Russia-Ukraine war. Shankar stated that India's strategy helped in avoiding possible competition with Europe in the market, which would have led to a sharp increase in the price of oil globally.
Had we not bought oil from Russia, I think the global oil prices would have gone higher, because we would have gone into the same market, to the same suppliers that Europe would have done. And frankly, as we discovered, Europe would have outpriced us. We saw that in the LNG markets, where actually many supplies which were traditionally coming into Asia were diverted to Europe. And in fact, at least India was a big enough country to command some respect in the markets, but there were much smaller countries who didn't even get responses to their tender in Paris because the LNG suppliers were no longer interested in dealing with them. They had bigger fish to fry. So we've actually softened the oil markets and the gas markets through our purchase policies.
During the event, the Minister of External Affairs emphasized India's important role in the transformation of international organizations such as the BRICS and G20. Shankar also explained how India managed the COVID-19 pandemic and revolutionized digital technology. Shankar's UK visit further consolidated the long-standing historical ties between New Delhi and London and provided a new impetus to bilateral cooperation. Dengue death toll in Bangladesh has exceeded 1400 mark, with hospitals recording new cases every day. While the dengue patients are undergoing treatment in several hospitals across the country, the myths around the epidemic have also popped up, especially in the rural areas. An entomologist and geology professor in Bangladesh Jahangir University in Dhaka is trying to break these myths. Dedicatedly involved in scientific research, Professor Kabirul Bashar is looking for ways to prevent mosquito-spread diseases such as dengue fever. Take a look.
Kabirul Bashar, an entomologist and zoology professor at Bangladesh Jahangir University in Dhaka, studies mosquitoes in a lab. In his lab, Professor Bashar can be seen extracting mosquitoes into a tube and examining them under a microscope. After spending much of his career researching mosquitoes, Professor Bashar is now looking for ways to prevent mosquito-spread diseases such as dengue fever. In his 25-year career, Professor Bashar has never seen an outbreak like the one he saw in Bangladesh this year. According to reports, dengue death toll in Bangladesh has already exceeded 1400 mark, with hospitals recording new cases every day. Dengue patients are undergoing treatment in several hospitals across the country. Professor Bashar says that climate changing and rising temperatures are providing ideal breeding conditions for the dengue spreading mosquitoes.
তাপমাত্রা, আর্দ্রতা, বৃষ্টিপাত এর প্যাটার্ন কিন্তু চেঞ্জ হয়েছে। এখন অক্টোবর মাসের মাঝামাঝি সময়, এই সময় আমরা যে বৃষ্টিপাত দেখছি বর্ষাকালের মতো। এটি তো একটি জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনের ফলেই এই যে সিজনাল প্যাটার্নের চেঞ্জ এটি ঘটেছে। আর যখনই মৌসুম পরিবর্তন হয়েছে, মৌসুম পরিবর্তন হওয়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে এডিস মশার যে উপযোগী বৃষ্টিপাত, উপযোগী তাপমাত্রা, উপযোগী আর্দ্রতা আমরা কিন্তু এখন এডিস মশা পেয়ে যাচ্ছে। যখনই এই মৌসুমটি পরিবর্তিত হচ্ছে, এডিস মশা তার পরিবর্তন করছে, অ্যাডাপ্টেশন চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে, এই বৃষ্টিপাতের ফলে বিভিন্ন জায়গায় পানি জমা হচ্ছে, সেখানে এডিস মশার প্রজনন হচ্ছে, ডিম পাড়ছে এবং বংশবৃদ্ধি হয়ে তার ঘনত্ব অনেক বেড়ে যাচ্ছে।
After the outbreak intensified in Bangladesh, the World Health Organization called for measures to control the number of mosquito vectors. WHO has deployed experts in Bangladesh and is helping authorities to strengthen surveillance and boost laboratory capacity. Bangladeshi health officials have set up a special dengue control room to coordinate and gather information at the national level. Furthermore, all of the district hospitals and medical college hospitals have additional control rooms that are operational. According to medical professionals, the majority of patients being admitted to hospitals in Bangladesh are suffering from hemorrhagic fever, while a small number also have dengue shock syndrome. In serious cases, internal bleeding has led to deaths of several patients. On the other hand, the myths around dengue have also popped up in Bangladesh after the beginning of the outbreak. Professor Bashar, who is also the only scientific expert sitting on the country's National Anti-Dengue Committee, is trying to break these myths.
দুটি ভুল ধারণা আমাদের মধ্যে আছে। একটি হচ্ছে এডিস মশা শুধুমাত্র দিনে কামড়ায়, আর এডিস মশা পরিষ্কার পানিতে হয়। এই দুটি আমরা দীর্ঘ 3 বছর গবেষণা করে দেখেছি। এডিস মশা দিনে এবং রাতে উভয় সময় কামড়ায়, আর এডিস মশা শুধুমাত্র পরিষ্কার পানিতে নয়, নোংরা পানি, সোয়ারেজের পানি, ইভেন সমুদ্রের নোনা পানিতেও এর প্রজনন হতে পারে এবং জীবনচক্র সম্পন্ন করতে পারে। ইতিমধ্যে এটি আমাদের বিভিন্ন কনফারেন্স জার্নালে প্রকাশিত হয়েছে আমাদের তথ্যটি।
Medical experts in Bangladesh admit that more research is needed to understand the reason behind the increasing cases. They suggest that it would be impossible for the authorities to eradicate dengue unless the general public participates in the breeding source management.
Let's now move to Sri Lanka, where Supreme Court ruled on the economic crisis that has gripped the nation. The court found former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his brother, former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, among several other government officials, guilty of mishandling the economy. The court held that the respondents violated the public trust and fundamental rights of the petitioners. A report. Sri Lanka is struggling to recover from the unprecedented economic crisis that hit the nation in 2022. The crisis, which was started due to several compounding factors, left a large population of Sri Lanka multidimensionally vulnerable. On November 14, Sri Lanka's Supreme Court ruled on the country's worst economic crisis since independence. The court ruled that former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his brother, former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, and several other government officials were guilty of mishandling the economy. The court ruled on a petition filed against former officials by corruption watchdog Transparency International Sri Lanka. The two Rajapaksa brothers, two former central bank governors, and President Ranil Wickremesinghe were among those named in the landmark TISL petition. The top court held that the respondents violated the public trust and fundamental rights of the petitioners.
තීන්දුවක් ලබා දුන්නා මේ ආර්ථිකය විනාශ කරපු පුද්ගලයන් කවුද කියන එක සම්බන්ධව ඒ සම්බන්ධව ඒ නඩුවේ පවරලා තිබ්බ වගඋත්තරකරුවන්ගෙන් දෙක ඒ 3 10 සහ තවත් වගඋත්තරකරුවන් සංඛ්‍යාවක් විසින් මේ ආර්ථිකයේ විනාශයට වගකිය යුතු බවට ගරු අධිකරණය විසින් තීන්දුව කරා. ඒ අනුව අධිකරණය විසින් රුපියල් 1,50,000ක් බැගින් වූ මුදලක් පෙත්සම්කරුවන්ට ගෙවන ලෙස වැඩිදුරටත් තීන්දුව කරලා තියෙනවා.
Political experts in Sri Lanka opine that the roots of the economic crisis in country are tied to the actions of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his family. They believe that the nepotism, corruption and mismanagement by the Rajapaksa government led to crisis in the country. People in Sri Lanka express anger that despite calls for Rajapaksa's arrest and prosecution on a raft of corruption charges, he is still living under armed protection.
අධිකරණයෙන් දීපු තීන්දුව මහ ජනතාව පැත්තෙන් හරිම තීන්දුවක් දීලා තියෙන්නේ. ඇත්තටම හැබැයි මේක තීන්දුව දීලා තියෙන්නේ මේගොල්ලන් මේ වරද කරා කියන එකනේ. හැබැයි මහ ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඒක විතරක් නෙවෙයි. මහ ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ ආර්ථිකේ වට්ටපු මිනිස්සුකින් මේක ආයිපාරක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට දනුවන් දීලා හරි කමන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ළඟ තියෙන සල්ලි වලින් හරි කමන්නේ මේ කරපු වරද නිවැරදි කරලා දෙන්න ඕනේ.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa had resigned in July 2022 amid widespread anti-government protests triggered by the severe crisis. Earlier, his brother Mahinda Rajapaksa was also forced to step down in May 2022. Since then, the efforts are being made internationally to bring Sri Lanka's economy back on track.
මහ ජනතාව සියලු දෙනාම සතුටු වෙයි ඒ ගැන. මොකද ආර්ථිකය සම්පූර්ණ කඩාවැටලා තියෙන්නේ මේගොල්ලන්ගේ මේ කම ඇදිල්ල නිසා. මේගොල්ලන්ගේ සාකු පුරව ගන්න හදන මිසක් මහ ජනතාව ගැන හිතන්නේ නැහනේ. හරි පව් මේක. මෙහෙම වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මේ තරම් බඩු මිල අහස උසට යන්න දෙයක් නෙවෙයි මේක ඇවිල්ලා. මේක හරි අපරාධයක්.
Reports say that the Sri Lanka's economy contracted by 7.8% in 2022 and 7.9% in the first half of 2023. The latest International Monetary Fund forecast released in April 2023 suggests that a return to growth in Sri Lanka is expected next year. Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Rescuers were searching through the debris of a wrecked building for survivors on the morning of November 15 after a Russian missile attack on Selidov, a Ukrainian village northwest of Russian-occupied Donetsk. National Police said 4 S-300 missiles struck shortly after midnight, killing 1 person, wounding at least 3, and damaging 6 apartment buildings and 20 homes. 5 people, including a child, were rescued from one building that had been heavily damaged in the attack, Interior Minister Ihor Klimenko said on Telegram. Local officials in a separate Telegram statement said 4 other people were believed to be trapped under the rubble. Rescuers early on November 15 were clearing the debris and warned residents against approaching the structure, which appeared to have been obliterated by the impact. A large crane assisted workers in clearing a mass of loose rubble from where the top floor once had been. Many onlookers were in shock, some cried. Russia has carried out regular missile and drone strikes on population centers behind the front line of its 21-month-old invasion of Ukraine. The concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere reached a record high last year, the World Meteorological Organization said, warning there was no end in sight to the trend. The warning comes weeks before world leaders are due to gather in Dubai for the annual UN Climate Conference COP28, which will see governments push for greater climate action, including a possible phase-out of fossil fuels before 2050. In 2022, global average concentrations of carbon dioxide were a full 50% above pre-industrial era for the first time, the UN Weather Agency said. Methane concentrations in the atmosphere also increased, and levels of nitrous oxide, another greenhouse gas, saw the highest year-on-year increase on record between 2021 and 2022, WMO said. Greenhouse gases are responsible for warming the planet and triggering extreme weather events. Unlike emissions which can be cut, much of the carbon dioxide emitted decades ago remains in the atmosphere and activates slow processes like the increase of the sea level. Videos released on November 15 by anti-military forces in Myanmar purported to show wounded junta troops surrendering to insurgents who were later seen offering medical help. "We are ready to shoot you right now, but we won't do that. You raise the white flag and walk out. Nothing will happen to you," a fighter who identified himself as the vice commander-in-chief of the rebel Karenni National Defense Force is heard telling the junta soldiers. The footage was filmed in Loikaw, located in Kaya State. Photographs released by KNDF on November 16 showed its fighters walking around a university in the town with an accompanying caption stating they had been removed and controlled the military council troops at the educational institution. Myanmar's junta has reported heavy assaults by insurgents and told government staff to get ready for emergencies, an official said, while media reported a call for those with military experience to prepare to serve.
And lastly, festivals in India are a part of people's lifestyles that bring joy and positivity. Recently, India celebrated the Diwali festival, also referred to as Deepavali. The festival holds cultural as well as religious significance, which not only binds families and society as one, but also inspires mankind to always choose the right. Let's have a look. Festivities in India are a way to preserve its age-old traditional values and ancient culture. festivals not only bring enthusiasm and strengthen the bond of community, but also reinforce their significance among the younger generations. The festival of light, Diwali, often called Deepavali, was recently observed in India and around the world. The name Deepavali comes from the Sanskrit word Deepa and Avli, which means light and row. The Diwali festival is celebrated in the Hindu lunar month of Kartik on the darkest of nights, which usually falls between mid-October and November. The festival is considered auspicious as people celebrate new beginnings and prosperity.
Every year, this is one festival that we all come together, no matter what, wherever we are. We come together and we celebrate this festival so well.
The 5-day-long festivity begins with Dhanteras, a day on which people purchase new utensils, jewelry, property and vehicles and worship Lord Dhanvantari for prosperity. The next day is Narak Chaturthi. On the following day, people celebrate the victory of Hindu god Krishna over the demon Narkasur by taking an oil bath to cleanse themselves from negativity. Apparently, the third day marks the main day of the festival, also known as Lakshmi Puja. People decorate their homes with colorful designs using color powder, also called Rangoli, along with diyas to welcome goddess Lakshmi and Ganesh.
आज के दिन में यही दुआ मांगा हिंदू मुसलमानों में आपस में घर पर भाईचारा रहे, प्यार रहे आपस में। दिवाली के दिन हम दिया पटाखे फोड़ते हैं और दिया जलाते हैं, खाना बनाते हैं अच्छा और एक दूसरे को बांटते हैं, प्यार मोहब्बत आपस में प्यार करके बैठते हैं।
The Diwali festival is also led by the bursting of crackers and fireworks at night. Meanwhile, devotees worship the idols of goddess Lakshmi and Ganesh for prosperity and peace of their families. According to Hindu mythology, on this day, Lord Ram returned to his kingdom Ayodhya after the exile of 14 years, and his homecoming was celebrated with lighting earthen lamps. Moreover, people around Indian states hold exhibitions and organize Diwali fairs where artisans as well as craftsmen show their creativity. Meanwhile, people in Nepal too celebrate 5-day festivities of Diwali or Tihar festival with religious fervor. Tihar is a 5-day festival celebrated in Nepal. It is also known as Festival of Lights and Flowers, as these two things are the most widely used items during the celebration. On first day of the festival, crow is worshipped. Dogs are worshipped on second day. On third day, cow and goddess Lakshmi is worshipped, which in India is called Diwali. Fourth day, ox is worshipped. Fifth day of festival is observed as Bhai Tika, where sisters put tika on brother's forehead, praying for his protection and long life.
I believe that dogs are the most friendliest and the loyal animals on the planet, and today is Kukur Tihar, and it is a festival that we celebrate in Nepal to respect dogs for their loyalty and friendship and helping all the human beings all around the world. And I believe that every country should learn from Nepal to respect dogs and treat them with kindness.
A festival like Diwali is crucial to mankind, as this not only brings families together but also inspires one to pursue the right path by helping those in need. Entire India and Nepal are bathed in the soft glow of light and warmth emanating from every household, making it a truly wondrous sight to behold.
No festival symbolizes communal harmony like Diwali does. The Festival of Lights is celebrated with noticeable gaiety and fervor by all across the world. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.
People have to live in unity.
We are still in transition.
Civil society has been decimated.
Of course, we rely on media.
And I think the government has not done enough.
The international community has failed to respond.
No place in the world is perfect.